Hi there, Shruti. Let's take a look at this set of essays. This is about dependence on the internet and phone, if there are more benefits than drawbacks. Let's see what you said. Experts throughout both the developing and developed world have debated the issue of whether mobile phones and the internet have, because it's not really one thing, is it? It's two things, have a negative impact on people as they are too dependent on them or not. This issue has grown in importance over the last few decades. This essay will discuss both the sides using examples from the UK government and a psychological study to demonstrate points and prove arguments. Okay. It's lovely, but there is one pretty big problem. You didn't really answer the question. You didn't answer. I mean, you said that you're going to discuss both sides, but it asked you very specifically, do the benefits outweigh the disadvantages? Now, if you're not familiar with them yet, I want you to familiarize yourself with the band descriptors for task 2. If you look at task achievement band 7, it says presents a clear position throughout the essay. The key word here is throughout. Your position obviously is your opinion on whatever the question they're asking you is, your answer to this question, I should say, not just your opinion. Okay, so it's the answer to this question, that's your position. And then throughout means from the beginning to the end. So if you want your position to be clear from the beginning, you need to state it in your introduction. So rather than just telling me that you're going to discuss both sides, it's really in your best interest to answer the question. Okay, you could say this essay will discuss both sides and explain why dependence is a negative thing in our life. Okay, something like that. Okay, but you really do want to do this. All right, let's move on. On the one hand, there is ample evidence that supports the fact that people enjoy the perils of the internet. I'm not sure if you mean the word perils here. I want you to look it up. And easy to carry mobile phones, which have made, again, I mean, these are two separate things, so I don't know why you keep referring to them with a singular verb. So the perils of the internet and easy to carry mobile phones. Again, I don't agree with the word perils. I think you're looking for something else. Which have made life comparatively simple and hassle-free. You could have put a dash here. The central reason behind this is twofold. Firstly, communication from one part of the world to another has become incredibly smooth. Secondly, vital information and numbers that can be easily forgotten can be safely kept in one place in any passcode protected application, which can be accessed when needed. It must not be forgotten that one can pay bills such as a phone bill, electric bills, etc. without even physically going to the store. For example, the recent empirical study from the UK government demonstrated that about 90% of all adults use internet banking to pay most of their invoices. Therefore, it is conclusively clear that internet connection and cell phones have made life far easier. Way easier is really conversational, just so that you know. Is far easier and more comfortable. All right, now what you've really talked to us about here, Shruti, is the positives, is the advantages that internet and cell phone use have given us. What I don't see here is our dependence on them. How is our dependence positive? Okay, so you can see that the question they're asking, look at the task again, is it's not if the phone and internet have brought us positives or negatives in our life, but it's our dependence on them, if that has brought us positives or negatives. And that really is a rather different issue here. So ask yourself, when and where are we dependent on the internet and phones? Okay, think of instances where we are absolutely dependent on them, and if this dependence has brought positives or negatives. Okay, that would be a more appropriately on topic essay. All right, let's move on. On the other hand, although there is a case for international and national calling, online streaming services, and even online messaging services benefiting the social society, the impact of people's worsening dependence on the internet and mobile phones cannot be overstated. This is because as technology marches forward, it may create an issue. Arise has to be used differently. it may create an issue of behavioral and technological addiction, which could lead to significant social and emotional impairments. For example, in case of most teenagers' increasing obsession with social media networking sites, in the case of here, if the need to showcase and maintain the perfect life online becomes a burden that they forget to enjoy their real life, then the majority would face serious, well, careful here. You don't want to be too absolute. You don't want to say would face. You want to say could face. So then the majority could face serious mental health problems such as anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, and even depression. Consequently, it is possible to state beyond doubt that the largest drawback to such technology is the potential threat to mental health. All right, lovely. To conclude from the given arguments and examples, I firmly believe that the advantages of the internet and phones are invaluable for the modern world. Nevertheless, the internet must be used properly and in a controlled manner so as to not, careful with your grammar here, so as not to be addictive. I don't think you mean that either. You mean something else here, because then you say not to be addicted to anything that could hamper mental peace. All right, we got to change this around. So it must be used properly and in a controlled manner so that people are not addicted to anything that could hamper mental peace. Okay, careful with some of that. Thus, in my opinion, having access to mobile phones and internet has more pros than cons. Okay. As I already told you before, this is not what the essay is about. It's not about access, having pros and cons. It's about our dependence. See, again, that's the topic. So you needed to talk about where we are dependent on on mental phones, I said, where we are dependent on phones and the internet, and the positives of this dependence, and then of course the negatives on this dependence. I thought you kind of mentioned that in the second body paragraph, certainly more appropriately than in the first paragraph, where you really just talked about the advantages of the internet and phone. As I've already said, that that's inappropriate. That's not correct. Okay. Now that's the bad news. The good news is you had a lot of really nice grammar, a lot of nice high-level language. So that was lovely. That was really good. Nonetheless, there were a lot of consistent errors with your articles. So the, and so forth. You could see that throughout the essay, I was consistently correcting that kind of language. I want you to revise some of the rules regarding articles. I want you, when you're doing reading, I want you to pay attention to where articles are used, because I know that even if you read an advanced grammar book and you try doing some exercises with articles, sometimes this is really challenging for students. Like in one place, you know, you'll see an A, and then someplace else you'll see no A, and that can get very confusing. Assuming that you've studied these rules and that you continue to do so, really try to consciously pay attention to the things you're reading, where and how articles are used. That may help you when you're writing, okay? See if you can maybe pick up on some of the rules and understand, oh, I see, this is why it's used like that, okay? This, I think, might be helpful to you. A lot of nice vocabulary, some nice collocations. So, in general, I was very happy with this essay, even though straight away I started talking to you about the negatives in terms of task achievement. But that is definitely something that we need to work on, okay? I really want you to sit and analyze the question before you start it. Really pick it apart and look at those key words. I've always said that IELTS essay topics are they're deceptively simple. So they look really simple when you first look at them sometimes, but they actually hide some complexities. And it's those complexities that I really want you to sit and kind of focus on, okay? So with that, let's go to the popularity of German school subjects. The pie chart shows the popularity of 7 different types of subjects. You could have just said of 7 different subjects. That would have been more appropriate. That are, you named them, in the year 2017. In a German school in the year 2017. Physical education was the most popular subject among the students, which accounted for 22.9%. In the chart, nearly a half was covered by history and physical education together, whereas the other half comprised the rest of the subjects in regards to popularity. Good. As for physics and maths, why are we talking about physics and maths? All right, it would be helpful if you could mention why. Tell me, are they the 3rd and 4th most popular? If that's the case, then it's important to tell us that. So as for physics and maths, the percentage of students enjoying both were almost similar with 18.1 and 19.5 respectively. Where's your full stop there? The popularity percentage of biology, the percentage was almost double, no D, that of IT. About 6.4% enjoyed learning geography. Now, let's talk about what the problem here is. You're telling me that biology is double IT, but you're not telling me what either of them are. Okay, so I know that biology is twice as much as IT, but I don't know what those figures are, and that's really helpful. There's really no reason why you should leave any of that information out in this particular pie chart, because there's so little information to work with. I mean, you only have 7 pieces of data, so this is the kind of task where it's important to include everything. Okay. Overall, a large number of people enjoyed physical education. You don't want to talk about numbers. You want to talk about percentages. Proportions, percentages, figures. Those are the words that are appropriate here. So a large proportion of people enjoyed physical education, whereas only a tiny portion, very tiny proportion, liked the subject of information technology. Okay. So as I said before, I thought this was very good in a lot of ways. You talk to us about numbers, you talk percentages actually, 22.9, 18.1, and so forth. But what's missing for me is some of this signpost language. In other words, the most popular, the second most popular, fourth in terms of popularity, or, the least popular. Okay, like I said here, the least popular IT, you don't even give us a figure for it. You only told us that it was half of biology. So I really feel like we were missing some important information here. And it's pretty safe to say that all of the information is important because, like I said, you only had 7 pieces of information to deal with. So anytime you kind of keep any of this out when you have so little information, it's doing you a disservice. For me, some of those pieces of data were missing, and those are pretty important for me, as well as the fact that you had some nice language in terms of the figures, but you didn't really explain where they were in terms of order of popularity. I kind of wanted that, at least someplace, okay, for those highest, like, oh, this was the most popular. You said it here, so that was good, physical education. But elsewhere, it would have been nice if you had kind of said, like, for example, you said, as for physics and maths. I didn't know why you were talking about them. So it would have been helpful to say, following these in terms of popularity were physics and maths, which enjoyed a similar popularity of 18.1 and 19.5 respectively. Okay, so do you understand? What I want you to do is essentially, as you can see, I'm reading this and I'm not actually looking at the pie chart. And your goal is to make sure that the person reading it can understand what you're looking at without actually looking at it him or herself. Okay, and that's what I want you to aim for. So if the person you're saying this to or you're writing this to doesn't have this, would they be able to understand what you're looking at just based on your description? Okay, and remember, there is some analysis and some comparison, and really kind of highlighting those key similarities and differences. That's important here. All right, the language is very good. I don't really have a lot of comments about that. So just some details so that we can get you really, really to where you want to be, because I think you do have abilities to get a very good score. We just have to pull all of these pieces together. Okay, go ahead and send me another set and I'll be waiting for them, so good luck to you.